Howdy, Mike McCoy here. Today I think I'll talk about my Aunt Orla, or Orly we call her. I think the proper pronunciation of her name is Orla. But it was my grandmother's baby sister. And just to give you a little, put things sort of in context, Granny was a Baptist, through and through. Wasn't going to change her. And Aunt Orly was Church of God. And this ain't about religion. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that both them old women's in heaven right now. Hopefully God put one on one end and one on the other. But anyway, they're there. There's good women. But Aunt Orly believed in speaking in tongues and faith healing and stuff. She didn't believe in handling snakes, but you know, it was along those lines, but she didn't do that. And she had been married to this old boy, and he died when I was real young. And he always liked to work for a Church of God church, like a janitor or caretaker. That's was pretty much his profession. He'd find a church and he'd go to work there. So when he died, Aunt Orly was pretty much high and dry. They didn't have no money. She had lived in Michigan for several years, and she come down here. And me and Aunt Orly never did really hit it off. I think she wanted to send me to hell awful bad. I don't know. But it scared me so bad that I wasn't going. I really ain't figured out which one it was yet. But anyway, she come down here, and she had some kind of female infection. And we didn't even have an inside bathroom in that old house we lived in. And she'd drag a number 2 wash tub into the bedroom there. They called it a sitz bath or something. She had to mix up some kind of concoction and set in it because, as Granny liked to put it, she had female problems. Well, that old house, the door going into the bedroom was right beside the TV, and I sat in a chair that was in direct line with the TV. Well, there was a crack probably that wide in that door. Well, inch anyway. And I mean, you could see through that crack and see the old woman in there as naked as a jaybird getting in that tub and stuff. And I didn't think nothing about it, for I was 12 or 13 years old. And it sure didn't interest me seeing some old woman naked. Now, if she'd have been young, it might have been a different story altogether. But I mean, this old gal's old. Well, she is in there splattering around. And I had to go outside and take a leak. Well, the toilet was a pretty good ways, and I'd just step up there in the yard and pee. You know, there wasn't nothing to it. We had a big yard and just don't pee in the same place too many times. It wasn't stink. It's all right. It's all good. So I went and peed, and I come back in. Sit down. Here come Aunt Orly out just in a blind rage. I mean, she was a raising sand. He's been outside peeping at me, Burley. That's my grandmother's name. They called her Burley. I looked at Granny and I said, I just went outside and peed's all I done. I didn't know what the big deal was. Old Orly just went on and on and on about Granny ought to just beat the snot out of me and all that stuff. And I think she wanted to take me on there for a minute, and Granny sort of stepped in and said, you ain't laying a hand on that young'un. Now go back in there and put you on some clothes. And Aunt Orly was just livid. I mean, she was livid about that. And I didn't know what to say for her. I wanted to look into that old woman, and I told Granny I wanted. Well, this went on for probably a week. And I don't think me and her had even spoke, for I pretty much despised her. And I was out behind the smokehouse busting wood. And everybody is gone with me. I don't know where they was all gone. But Aunt Orly had left with somebody she knowed, And Mom and Granny is gone somewhere too. Well, I heard the door open and I didn't pay much attention to it. And here come Aunt Orla just prancing. And Mom and Granny and all of them was bad to go behind the smokehouse and pee. It's just a convenient spot and it's out of the way and you couldn't see back there and blah, blah, blah. And I guess Aunt Orla didn't have enough hold back to make it to the toilet down there. And I'm within 15 foot of where she's at. But I'm standing there like a statue, and evidently she's about half blind too. Let her get a good stream started. And Aunt Orla was 2/3 deaf. She couldn't hear it thunder. She had the fever when she was just a baby, or a real small child that affected her hearing. She couldn't hear nothing. And I let her get the pen right good. And I just take that axe and start busting wood just like nothing ever happened. She heard that axe, she could hear that axe, you know. I'm like 10, 15 foot from her. She looks around and sees me. I've never seen a look like that on anybody's face. She grabbed them drawers up and pulled them plumb up and under her arms. Into the house she went and she ain't spoke yet. By that time I am laying down life. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was never mentioned after that. It was never, before that, just every day or two, she'd say something about me peeping at her or something. I believe old gal's getting her jollies off thinking somebody'd look at her. I don't know. But it was never mentioned after that. Nothing about peeping, nothing. And she lived for several years on after that. Now, that old gal was a sight. Later on in life, and I was probably 18, 19 years old, me and a bunch of us boys laid out drinking all night long. I mean, I'd been drunk and laid in the car and got sober enough to get home, eating God knows what. And I come home and went to bed. And Granny and Aunt Orla was up by that time. And I just went on to bed, didn't pay them no mind, and I was just almost asleep. And I heard Aunt Orla say, "Burley, I'm going to go see if he's been drinking." Well, I just sort of cracked one eye open enough to see what was going on. And that old heifer put her nose right down in my face. I belched it, and I'm sure it was sardines and rotten eggs and beer and wine and whatever else. Oh, she gasped. She said, "Oh, Lord, he ain't been drinking, but he's eaten something that's terrible." But in her own way, Aunt Orla was a good old woman. But she just had her ways about her. She liked to preach fire and brimstone and just get on my nerves. And the way she come on to me, or the way I took it, I just wasn't good enough for religion, you know. I wasn't there yet, so anyway. And one time, Granny was 72 years old, and she was going up on the roof of the house to clean the chimney out. Every year she'd take pine tops and run down the chimney and knock us up and cinder and stuff like that. And the plank broke, and she fell and broke her foot. Well, there she is in the bed with that foot all casted up, in pretty good pain. And they brought Aunt Orla to stay with her. And Granny hated that to begin with. Well, first thing Orla done was laid hands on that foot. Started praying. She prayed for 10 minutes, I know. She got done praying, she looked at Granny and said, "Now get up and walk." Granny said, "Can't get up and walk, my foot's broke." Aunt Orla said, "It ain't broke now, I just fixed it." Granny said, "You can't fix nothing." They went back and forth, and I swear if Granny could have got a hold of her right there, she would have wrung her neck. I don't believe I ever seen my grandmother that mad at nobody. But that was her and Orly. They liked to argue back and forth. And to beat it off, when poor Granny started getting dementia, it was Aunt Orla that figured it out, and she was. And I'm sure Granny ain't forgive her for that yet. But them two old women was a sight. They really was. And both of them. I'm not taking the thing away from neither one of them in the religion stuff. Both of them was true to their religion, but it just didn't mesh. And Granny would tell Aunt Orla, there's something in the Bible about if you raise a young and right, it won't vary from it much. Granny told her, said, I don't know where Mom and Dad went wrong. But that's my story about Aunt Orla. She was a unique individual. And she thought I was a peeping Tom till she walked out of me and was pretty much bottomless in front of me. And then when it was her fault, it was all right, I guess. So that's my story. Talk at you later.